Hey guys. I don't know why I always start off by saying, hey guys. I think it's kind of because that's what my son used to always say when he was a little kid. Hey guys, right? Anyway, um, welcome to my podcast Level Up. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to that channel. If you're on iTunes, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, I don't know, share it. Share it to the world, guys, because I need the attention. Just kidding. Um, so I always get a lot of questions about my diet. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. I've never really thought of food, maybe when I was younger, but really the way I think about food is I think about food as nutrition. So I kind of look at what food is doing for me, and then I kind of look at what food does to me, right? That way. Um, And I know how bad I feel if I have tons of sugar, right? I understand how bad I feel if I have something really oily or greasy. But so several years ago, I became plant-based. And I can't really say I'm vegan because I own a pair of leather pants, okay? So I say plant-based. And I heard this joke a few years ago, how if you're at a party, room full of people, how do you know who the vegan is? Well, just wait because they're going to tell you, right? And I've seen it, and so I try to be low key about it. I try to just do my thing, right? But it's hard not to. And here's how my journey began. Okay, um, and I used to be from the mindset that we need a lot of protein and all this stuff. So I used to listen to Lance Armstrong had this great podcast, had great guests on there. And when we'd go to races and travel, we'd listen to podcasts. And I remember it was, gosh, I don't know if it was, I don't remember, 17 or 18. Um, Going to a race, listening to a podcast. I think it was 2017. And now I can't stop thinking when it was. But anyway, it was a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Anyway, on this podcast was this guy, Rip Esselstyn. And anyway, I just knew the guy from being a fast triathlete. I did not realize the depths of his expertise on the subject. So, with that being said, he said a statement in there that just made my head spin, or it was my Roger that moment that I was done. And I tend to I hear something from experts or I hear something that makes sense and I am just 100% all in and there's no other way but that way. Okay. Now, I'm not going to deviate, right? I mean, I might deviate a little bit, but I mean, once I figure out how to do it, that's the only way to do it. But on this podcast, he said that all cancer is tied to animal products. And that's why he's plant based, right? Or one of the many reasons. And when I heard that, I just thought, wow, it blew my mind. And to me, cancer is one of those things. I mean, if you get it, you're freaked out because who really knows what or how, or, it's really one of those tough situations. So when I heard that, I was like, if this is one way to avoid it, why aren't we all doing this? And so I heard that. I said, Roger, that I am done. And so from that moment, I made a conscious effort to switch from the way I ate normally to this slow plant based lifestyle. And, I was already in that position where I didn't really eat fast food, maybe Chick-fil-A every once in a while, but um, yeah, it was from that moment. And now I'm out of town. I'm at a race. I'm doing stuff. So it's not like I was just at home, good enough, go to the grocery store and buy everything I needed. So I would even go to a restaurant, and I was with a friend too. it was one of those things. We go to a restaurant and we like really look at things like, okay, where does this come from? Like what's the origin of this food? And I remember we're at a Mexican restaurant and we ate at many of the places, but it was one of those things I just, um, we were just stopping and thinking, well, what's the origin of this? So like tortilla chips, okay, hot sauce, okay, beans, da, 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 we kind of broke it down like that. And that just kind of slowly how it goes. So you kind of understand I can eat this or I can eat this. And you kind of just go through, that until you after you do it a little while, you get to understand. And one of the last few things, you give up is like cheese, for instance. And I didn't realize the addictive properties in cheese, and that's why it's so hard to let go of. Um, but cheese, eggs, things like that were like the last to kind of consciously let go of. And once you kind of make that full switch over, after several days, 7, 8 days or so, 10 days, I can't remember exactly, you really do feel pretty good. And again, my whole reason of doing this was not because of animal cruelty or saving the planet or anything like that. It was primarily my own selfish return, my own attempt at being cancer free. Okay. And now, as I did this a while, I physically started to feel better. I emotionally started to feel better. And it became, you start to relate to other people who are plant-based or vegan, and you really you learn more and more things from people. And it's just one of those things, if you ask, people will tell you what's in their ingredients. And now here we are years later, and it's like I now have this undying love for the environment, the planet, and animals. And I just, I think it's so funny how we, in our mind, we know how a cow is processed, right? We've all seen that. We've seen the horror stories, and as much as we can, my father and his whole family, they raised chickens. Well, the children, after having to kill a chicken and seeing how disgusting they were, they could never eat chicken. Like my dad never ate chicken to my knowledge. He might have an egg, but he never could eat chicken again after going through that. And I thought, if that's just the chicken that was done as humanely as you can at your house, then how are these, big plants processing hundreds of pounds of meat a day? How are they doing it that's humane? And so they really kind of get you thinking, but it's a crazy level of guilt you're released from. But then I heard this celebrity talk about how once you're not ingesting the negativity that the animal feels right before it's killed, you start to have this euphoric feeling about you. And I thought, wow, that's got to be it. It's I just never really thought about it or cared. And it's one of those things. I'm not going to force my children to do this, um, but I want them to be aware of what's going on in the world, and they can make their own choice. I think they'll probably come my direction a little bit someday. My daughter already, doesn't really drink milk or dairy or things like that, and so I think there's a lot of, you know, slowly it can be made, and it's so much easier to do it now because so many restaurants have those kind of menu options, and a lot of times if you just bring it up to the waiter, the waitress, the shelf already has a good guideline or an idea of how to prepare those things for you. Um, but I heard this story, where this friend of mine had relatives that were doing mission work in Japan or China or somewhere, right? And she had these dogs over there with her, and then had to leave the country and couldn't take her dogs, left the dogs with the family she's staying with, and they loved the dogs and all this stuff. And then it was about a year later, she checked with this family and to check see how her dogs were doing. And the family was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. They were delicious." And they ate the dogs. And so many people were shocked by that. I'm like, well, why are you shocked by that? I mean, there's people that are shocked that we eat cows, that we eat chickens. Like, there's all over the world. You should be more shocked that animals are being eaten, period, not just certain types you want to have. And I think it's like pigs are one of the smartest animals there are. I've seen pigs do tricks. I've seen pigs as pets, and they're incredible, right? And you wouldn't eat it if it was your pet, but you'll eat it if it's, not your pet. Like, why do you think other countries don't name their dogs? Well, it's because they have that option of eating them. So that's kind of, how where I've come to at this point. And I made a mistake of watching that show Seaspiracy on Netflix, and oh my gosh, just kind of what goes on that side. And I mean, it seemed pretty accurate to me. And if it's one of those things I'm just not sure, that I'm not going to contribute to that type of situation. Not that I eat fish. I mean, I haven't consciously had an animal product in years. Um, it might be that I'll have some pita bread, and this brand doesn't have milk in it, and for some reason this brand does. And I've had a couple pieces of that. Like that situation I've discovered comes up more than not. I didn't really feel any different, but I'm not going to do that long term, you know. But once I really made that decision, then I started to really explore down those different avenues, like like the movie What the Health, Game Changers, things like that really give you a lot of information that'll help you understand um the health benefits of it. I, again, just eat plants and vegetables and fruits and things like that. I feel better. I'm physically stronger. I don't need all the extra protein that I thought I used to need. My body still builds the type of muscles my body needs. So, a lot of people will say, "Well, where do you get your protein?" And I get my protein where your protein gets its protein. Like that's what I'll tell people. But you don't have to worry about protein. Like you have to just worry about whole foods, meaning foods that are intact. They have everything you need. An apple has a lot of stuff in it. Vegetables have a lot of things in there. I eat the largest bowl of salad every day at noon, and it's so many vegetables in there. One time I made it and I forgot to put spinach in, and I didn't even notice. I was halfway through and I realized, oh, I'm eating a bowl of chopped vegetables with a little bit of dressing on there, and I hadn't missed the spinach I threw in there. So anyway, that's kind of how I got to this plant-based life I'm in. And it's really funny when my parents passed away, these friends of mine from high school, all chipped in and they dropped off some food at my doorstep, and it was barbecue. Now, of that barbecue, I think the only thing that I ended up eating was like some sides, bread, and I think barbecue sauce. I tried to give it away to as many people, but I just couldn't give it away. But yeah, that's kind of my journey into the vegan slash plant based lifestyle. It's not as hard as you think, and a lot of people would just say just pick one meal a week and and slowly build from there. And then once you fully go into it, it goes a little deeper as far as understanding, what's in there. And if you've ever had um well, like pizza, for instance, there's different types. Pizza, you can make all the crust, plant based or vegan. However, the dough, they add in a dough softener that makes it not turn up hard and crunchy and crispy when it comes out. And the dough softener can be mayonnaise or it can be a concoction of other stuff. And you really just have to ask what the dough softener is they use. I have been to Whole Foods plenty of time, and what this poor kid behind the counter thought was A vegan pizza end up not being whatsoever. That will make you sick if you get too much of that stuff and your body's not used to it. But you just got to ask and investigate. Um, and it's one of those things once you can repair your gut, meaning it's not having to work in overtime, digesting the meat, digesting all this other stuff, you start to feel better considerably. And if you're not going to be plant-based, if you are going to eat animal products, then one of the biggest tips I can give you is you got to eat your food separately, meaning eat your meat first, finish it, wait a couple of seconds, minutes, then eat your next course. Break it up like that, and that really will help you be able to digest the meat. You're not going to digest it easily, but you're going to digest it better than if you have it all mixed together. And fruits really are better by themselves if you're a meat eater. But okay, guys, that's kind of my story and how I got to that point in my veganism, my plant-basedism. It's really not that hard. Once you decide to do it, it's simple. And I think I think it's just a matter of looking at your food and understanding where it comes from. Most people over the age of, gosh, 50 that don't have a belly can't really handle red meat. I mean, it's rare. I don't think that I think everybody becomes lactose intolerant eventually after a certain age, because we're not made to drink milk. And that was another thing, like everybody in our society drinks cow's milk, but yet we would freak out over breast milk. Well, we're the only species that drinks another species' milk, right? Sea mammals can't drink dairy, like they're lactose intolerant. So there's a lot of things that point to where we just shouldn't be drinking milk. You can say you like the texture, it doesn't matter. You can like crack and it's still not good for you. Anyway, okay, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to Level Up. Subscribe. And if I can help you with any questions, you can email me, tim@timtarpley.com, or you can go to my website and check it out, timtarpley.com. Find me on Facebook. I've got several groups, several programs to help you if you want to go into this slowly or as fast as you want to. I'm one of these people that like to jump in full force. It's not as bad, right? If you put your foot in cold water and then you gradually put your leg deeper and deeper and deeper, it's very cold. If you jump in right away, it's cold just one time for one little second and then you're good. So I recommend you jumping in, y'all. All right, guys. See you on the next one.